Welcome to another episode of Pit Lane Parlay.
We are joined this evening by driver of the number 2 Penske car, Josef Newgarden. Josef, thank you for joining us after a hot day at the track on Friday here in Iowa. So I'm just going to dive right into the questions. There's 6 races left. You're 4 points up. You're about 40-ish points up on your teammate, Simon Pagenaud. How do you prioritize going for a win versus playing it safe and going for points at this point in the season?
Well, I've never been one to points race. At least in the traditional sense that you're just trying to finish in a certain position. I think you have to be smart, and your decision-making has to be very championship-inspired. You're looking at your championship contenders that you're up against. So Simon, Will, Scott, Alex, you're looking at them, and you're definitely basing decisions off where they are on the racetrack. But you're not ever just trying to finish in a certain position. Or not go for whatever the maximum result the car's capable of. If it's a third place car, I think you need to be finishing third. So I always have the same mindset. You maximize whatever the car's capable, whatever the team's capable of that specific day. And if you do that, I think throughout the course of the season, then most of the time the championship's going to sort itself out. Good or bad. If you don't have a good enough season, then it's going to be what it's going to be. But if you got fast cars and you're maximizing each weekend and the performance that you have, then you could win the championship. Probably can.
Such a situation now with having a teammate in direct competition with you. Is that something you really would rather not have? You'd rather battle other guys than a guy on your own team?
Well, it doesn't change the game too much. It's similar than if it wasn't that way. If Will and Simon weren't in it, I think you'd be racing the same way. Honestly. The only tough thing is they're close to you. So if you have an advantage, or maybe if you are better on a weekend and you're kind of showing the way, then sometimes it's a little tough because you're showing guys that are close to you, and if they're in that fight, it's tougher to share the info. It's not that you're not going to share the info. I think it just stings a little bit more when they benefit from it. Sure. But that goes both ways. You have to be aware that there's times when I benefit from them, and if they're in a championship race with me and they're better on a weekend and I can benefit from it, that ebbs and flows. So it's tough at times, but I think it kind of equals out. It helps in one hand, but it hurts on another. But it all equals out.
Thanks for your time this evening. Penske definitely seems to have a leg up on everybody this weekend. I know you're trying to beat Rossi every weekend, which is kind of an obvious statement. But how important is it to capitalize when it appears that you guys have a distinct advantage over Rossi and Andretti Autosport this weekend?
It's the same sort of answer. It's just as important to finish on a down weekend in the best possible position. So say you're only a 5th place car, and Rossi and Simon and Will, they're ahead of you that weekend. Well, it's really important to finish 5th, on that weekend. And the same goes the other way around. If you have a winning car and those guys are 5th or 6th, then yeah, you want to try and capitalize. So I think the first answer really answers the next question, is that if you focus on maximizing your potential for each weekend, it all kind of works out in the net of things. So you always want to capitalize when your car is good, but you also always want to you want to make the most of a bad situation. You want to get that podium if you don't have the winning car. I think you're just always trying. It's a really simple method, and it's boring. But it's true. Like you just gotta finish the best you can for each weekend. Just get the most out of what you're capable of.
Boring is good.
I
like boring. Boring is good.
Boring is what wins championships, unfortunately. Unless it's an odd year. Sometimes you have odd years where consistency doesn't win. But if you look at the average of 50 years back, it's consistency that always wins this stuff.
Most of Scott Dixon's championships have been boring.
Well, I was going to say 2017 was not boring. I'll tell you that.
That was the outlier. But
you have those. Yeah, like I said, there are outlier championships, but on an average, it's going to come down to being boring. You can still have flashes of brilliance and good days, but when you look at the whole picture, it almost needs to be a boring picture. That's what helps you a lot of times.
So, speaking of this weekend, you were first in practice 1, qualified third, which I know you were a little frustrated by, and you were in the top handful of cars in practice 3, which I haven't looked at the results yet, so I don't really remember. Does anybody know where Joseph finished? P2? Okay. How are you feeling about this weekend? I know, like I said, you were a little frustrated by third in qualifying, but still a good start to the weekend.
Yeah, I think our car's good. It's always difficult in practice to really tell how dialed in you are, because tires are such a big deal here now that when you're off sequence even 10 laps to someone, it can, speed-wise, it can look very different. So you're always kind of checking yourself and trying to... It's really important to go back and look at the data, and say, okay, let me try and plot everyone's lap times out as far as mileage on the tires, and then, get a better picture of where we were. Because when you're out on track and someone's got 15-lap newer tires than you, even 5-lap newer tires, it can cloud your vision of how strong or not strong you are. So I think we're good. I've felt kind of weighting everything on an average of the first session and qualifying in the second session. I think we're pretty good. I think our car is very similar to last year. Last year we were, in my opinion, we were pretty, dominant in a lot of ways, but then that dominance went away from us. About, the last 100 laps, we lost that. So we really just trying to clean up sort of the final part of the race. If we can do that, I think we're going to have kind of a shot like we did last year.
You look at Texas, and I know the start times are a lot similar and everything, and your car kind of came on a little bit more, and at the end of the race, I know you guys had a great call in the pits. Is that kind of what it takes, unless you're dominating like you did a couple years ago? Is that really what it takes at a track like this, especially when the conditions flip a little bit as the time goes on?
Yeah, I think the tough thing about this race is we're calling it a night race, and it's really not.
Yeah.
We're probably going to be...
That's been the social media highlight the last 24 hours.
We're going to be finishing probably around right now or 15 more minutes as we're doing this interview, which is like 8 o'clock, 8:15. That's probably what it's going to be, and it's still sunny out. The sun's setting, but it's not nighttime. You're not going to need the lights most likely unless there's some crazy red flag. So I don't think the temperature drop will be as significant as Texas. Texas is big. When the sun fully goes down, you drop temperature fast, and not just the ambient, but more so the track temp. Here, I don't think you're going to see as big of a drop, so it'll be a small factor. We have to be better as the track evolves, but I think it will stay more constant, similar to last year than like in Texas.
Yeah, so like you just mentioned, it was touted as a night race, but now we kind of know that's not really a night race. And Jim Aiello wrote tweeted about several drivers having comments about the sun, and so now that we know where the sun's going to be, and it's really been an issue in turn 4, what was your perspective about the sunlight in that last practice?
I didn't have an issue. I'll be interested to hear what people say now after the second session. I didn't have a problem with it, so it'd be nice if it was a night race. We were pushed back an hour and a half or something, but I think TV is the king in this situation. Trying to find the right slot for the TV windows is really important. I think that's what drove the decision a lot. But for me, the sun wasn't a big issue. It just, it can be at certain tracks depending on the angle. Here, I didn't have a big problem with it. Yeah.
You've been awesome at Iowa the last, even before you were with Team Penske. What's been the key to success for you at Iowa?
I don't know. We've had good cars here. ECR produced really good cars, and I certainly think Team Penske got good cars, as you can see. I don't know what it is. We're comfortable here. I love short oval racing, I can tell you that. So I wouldn't be sad if we added more of that to the calendar. Go back to Milwaukee, add a Richmond. I don't know what else we could muster up, but I'm a fan of short ovals, so that's probably part of it. To me, it's like it's just 2 high-speed road course corners. Which is different than an oval. An oval, not an oval, but it's different than a super speedway, where your speeds are at such a high point that it's not like a high-speed road course corner. When you go to a place like Milwaukee, here, Gateway, it feels like 2 really fast corners, like a turn 1 at Barber or turn 1 at Mid-Ohio. They feel like fast road course corners, and I've always liked high-speed corners on road courses. So, putting 2 of them together, it's kind of a fun day to just keep doing that back and forth.
So when you're looking at the championship and it's down to 4 guys for sure, and Will's kind of still hanging in there, as a really competitive person, is this kind of the point of the season that you like, because it's just it's a real now head-to-head battle with guys, and everybody's just, all four of you guys are so talented, and it's just that kind of head-to-head battle that just kind of sorts out who's best. Is that something that really gets you excited?
Well, if you feel like you have fast cars, it's exciting, because then you feel confident to go into the fight that you're going to be in it. If you're worried that you're not where you need to be, or you still need some work, you need some test time, then it's tougher because you're getting down to the wire and you don't feel as confident with what you got behind you. But I think we feel cautiously confident. You can never be overly confident because things change quickly in the sport. But I think relatively we are happy with where we are. I think we have fast cars. We put a tremendous amount of work in this off season, particularly on street courses. I think it paid off for us, as you saw. But we're working everywhere else. We're trying to improve our road course cars, which we still need a little bit. But I think on an average, we feel like we have fast race cars. And so, yeah, you get excited about the championship and what it's going to come to. But it's also, it's tough. It's a big pressure cooker. Like, you got to get everything right. And that every race matters. And it's to me, it's not, it's not that, these races matter more now that we're getting, a lot of people will say that, well, these are really important races because it's the last 5 or 6, but every race is important. You just start noticing it more. You notice the impact of a bad race a lot more. The impact of a race in the beginning of the year, if it's bad, it's the same impact. You just don't notice it because the championship's not as close to the wire.
Right.
So from an excitement standpoint, from a nerve standpoint, it ramps up. But it's really about that average for the whole year. If you build up this cushion in the beginning, it gives you a little bit more leeway in the back end, and then vice versa. You didn't build up that cushion, then you have less leeway on the back end to let races get away from you.
So a couple people in the media, including Eric Smith, have been asking drivers now that we're at Iowa about repaving Iowa. So where do you fall on it? Should they repave it? Should they leave it the same? Should they just patch it up like they've been doing?
It's tough. It needs a repave. They probably should repave it. I think we don't want it to be repaved because it's a great racetrack. It really is. You repave it, you take away what the track is. It's got 2 lanes. You can run both of them. Like, it's probably the best short oval you go to right now because you can run both lanes. It's bumpy. The grip's kind of variable. The patches are fun. You can find patches that just hook that left front. You get a good run on somebody. You can also hook a patch that gets you really squirrely, and that's called character. And we love that on racetracks, but you can only deal with the character for so long. I mean, if it downpours tonight and it rained tomorrow, it'd probably be really hard to dry this place out. I mean, we might have to wait around a couple days before they dried it out. So, that's the unfortunate part about it, is that it needs a repave. We don't want it to be done, but it's probably going to have to happen. So, we'll deal with it. It's like the Texas situation. Texas was way more fun before they repaved it. It's just the nature of it. I think you'll hear that on the NASCAR side too. A lot of guys, they hate when they repave tracks. It's a necessary evil, but it's tough because you lose that character that's built up.
So after Iowa, we've got 5 races left. Is there one of the remaining tracks that you are most concerned with in any aspect of racing?
Probably Laguna, just because it's our most unknown. We tested there at the beginning of the year, but it's still an unknown. We only ran a half day on the test. We're going to get more time, and I have confidence we'll figure it out, but it's still an unknown. We don't know what it's going to produce for us. So I would say that one's at the top of the list. Everywhere else, you can't rest on stats, in my opinion. Everyone says we should be strong here in the race tomorrow. It looks like we're going to be, but you can't come into this weekend saying, hey, we can bank on Iowa, and we're going to nail points here. And vice versa. If you go to a place like a Portland, and you say, oh, we didn't do that well there last year, so we're probably not going to do well this year. You just can't. I don't think you can look at that. You got to try and always be moving forward and trying to get better. But I think Laguna is the one place we just don't have a lot of info on.
That said,
unfortunately, it's also the place that has double points. So probably not the place you want that.
No biggie.
But that said, are you excited about racing there?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a great track. We'll figure it out. It's just we just don't know a lot about it. We need more time. But I think it'll be great. Sonoma was awesome for us. I think Laguna will be equally as great. It's in it's in a good part of the country there. Just it's nice weather. People don't mind going out there. There's a lot to do. It's a very nice atmosphere. The track's legendary. I think it's very fun to drive. I don't know how it's going to race for us yet, but I think it's going to be a great track. So I am pumped to see an IndyCar race back there.
And it won't be 105 degrees.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more temperate, a little bit better.
I know our friend and fellow listener and photographer Stephen King said he left 62-degree weather in San Francisco today for this. So
Poor guy.
Yeah, bless him.
I feel like all my questions have been Iowa related, but you've driven an Indy Lights car here, right? 2011.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have. Yeah.
So you've done Indy Lights. You did the old DW12. You did the Aero Kit car, and now you've done this new Aero Kit car. Is there a personal preference as far as a favorite car that you've driven here at Iowa?
It's sad, but I can't remember the Indy Lights car. I really don't. I don't.
You won, didn't you?
Yeah, we won in the Lights car, but I don't remember. I don't really remember how it operated around here, which is odd. I mean, it was like 9 years ago.
Right.
But all versions have been quite fun in the Indy car. I mean, I don't know that I have a favorite on those. Every version's been cool. Certainly, the Aero Kit car worked well for us. But so did the new Common Kit that came out, and I think, yeah, I don't know that I have a favorite. I've liked. There's not a kit I've disliked. Let's say that. So there's not been any big negatives. They've all been fun. I think they've all produced a great race, and I've done it daytime, nighttime. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I like racing here.
So, taking a step back from all the Iowa discussion, both of your teammates have won the 500 in the past 2 years. Is it Josef Newgarden's turn in 2020?
You hope so, but you just never know. That place. Yeah, it's hard to know. I don't think you can ever predict. Some people they never get their turn in victory lane there. You look at a guy like Michael Andretti who probably should have won that race multiple times and just never happened. So I hope it does. I mean, I want to win there. It's been number one on my list every year, as it should be. And as a team, obviously we're pleased as punch because it's worked out, and a team victory is still what we aim for at the end of the day. So it's been very fulfilling, I think, for everybody. But on a personal level, yeah, you hope it works out. It's number one on my list. You just never know. You never know if you're going to be able to succeed at that one event. That's what makes it so great and so tough. It's the one event you want out of all of them. You only get one shot every year, and that's what makes it difficult, and is what makes it so rewarding at the end of the day if it happens.
I'll go back to Iowa. I'm curious what you're going to do between now and the race, just to get prepared for the heat and I mean, so you got the mark on your elbow.
Oh yeah, yeah. We always get that.
Yeah, but so it's hot. You get a little banged up, and you're all leaning on each other all night. Just kind of what are you doing between now and then to get ready for all that?
Just drinking water, eating chips. It sounds funny, but it's honestly the best way to hydrate. Eat something salty, and then just continue to drink water. You can't just drink water because if you do that, your body's not going to absorb it. So doctors always recommend eat something salty, always continue to drink with that, and then your body will absorb it. So that's really the best way to rehydrate. They even say it's better than taking an IV, which I'm telling you, that's straight from the doctors. You can go into the medical center and say, hey, I'm dehydrated, pop me with an IV. They'll say, just eat some chips and drink a bunch of water. And that's the advice I've always been given. That's what I'll do tonight. Just trying to hydrate as best as possible. I was soaked after the second session. It was just so hot. I mean, I was sweating like crazy. And I think a lot of people were. It's not just me. So, yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing. I think physically this place is tough, but that's really not what I'm worried about. Physically you can deal with it. It's just, can you deal with the heat? Can you deal with the amount that you're losing water? That's just going to be the tough part. So just hydrate tonight, trying to be ready.
I would be such a bad athlete. My sodium intake would be bacon. So I think part of your job as a driver is to kind of know your competition and to evaluate their strengths and weaknesses. And I think right now we have a plethora of good rookies. What do you make so far of this rookie class that we've seen so far in 2019?
Yeah, they're stout. Very good. Colton's done a great job. He's got a great situation, no doubt, but he's really done a nice job. I think he'll be strong in the future. Consistency is probably his thing at the moment. But some of that can be the team side too. It's a smaller group, even though they're with the Titan of Andretti. They're a smaller group themselves. So consistency is the big thing for them. I think it's the same deal for Felix. He's really fast, and I think he pushes Scott. But consistency's not been on their side, and that's, I think, across the board, that's kind of what you're seeing. And it is hard to do in IndyCar. It really, really is hard to be consistent, just because it's such an ever-changing calendar. And what I mean by that is there's not consistently short tracks or consistently road courses. You're back and forth between every type, and there's 4 of them, 4 different types of tracks. So, to master that switchback and to be good at it all year is really, really tough. And that's, I think, why you see the veterans that have been in and out of it every year. That's why you see them do so well. So, those guys that we've got in, they're super talented, super good, and once they have I think a couple more years under their belt, they're gonna be right there knocking on door for championships and all that stuff. They're not going to struggle to do that.
Well, thanks again for joining us tonight. We'll let you go. Best of luck this weekend and on the championship hunt, and we'll be rooting for you.
Cool. Thank you, guys.